Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome to Hacktoberfest Happy Hour. I think it's the last one. This year I can use that fun alliteration. I love a good alliteration. Hacktoberfest Happy Hour. Yes, you saw on the screen 5 p.m. PT. That's obviously wrong. I failed to update the starting banner. It is, I think, 11 p.m. PT. So yeah, I mean, if you're in on the West Coast, kudos for staying up and tuning in. If you are, if not, yeah, let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. And I'm very excited for this one. Some very good friends here in this happy hour, and maybe we'll just go around the room, and maybe we can go. Let's go alphabetically. Alfred, you want to go first? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alfred, one of the co-founders of Dashibase, together with SK. We're building a no-code internal tools builder. Can go into that a little bit more. Based in Singapore, I'm actually more of a marketer and who learned how to code myself. So I do a mix of both right now. All right, I'll pass it to Philip.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Philip. I'm based in Berlin and currently working on like a messaging solution for small and medium-sized businesses, where we're using also Supabase as our backend, and also built like few, I think now like 6 or 5 weeks ago during the last launch week hackathon, the Supabase Cash Helpers. Yeah, which we are now using also in our product, and which helps us a lot in like speeding up the development and saving a lot of lines of code.
Nice.
And I can go next. So SK here, as Alfred mentioned, co-founder of Dashibase. Yeah, we'll help you build internal tools really easily, and huge fan of Supabase. We actually went through a whole bunch of different ideas before we landed on Dashibase an idea, and every one of those were built on top of Supabase. So yeah. So was looking forward to joining this happy hour with Thor.
Nice. Yeah, we well, I mean, introduce myself. I'm Thor. I mainly am known for making these. No, I obviously didn't make those myself, but they originated from my vacation in Bali recently, where I found this shop where they make the custom ones, and I just like showed them a Supabase logo on my phone, and they were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I think it's actually one of the most loved pieces of swag nowadays. So I don't know, have any of you? I think Philip, you might be getting one on. It still hasn't arrived.
Yeah, I think there might be there may have been some troubles, but yeah, we'll have to check with Amy on that.
Maybe German customs was like, no.
Yeah.
This wasn't made in Germany. Yeah, no, but so I do developer relations, developer experience things at Supabase right now. I'm actually working on an example with the new Next.js 13 sort of caching. Yeah, actually, maybe we can talk about that a little bit, Philip, as well. Kind of how you're seeing that. I don't know if you had a chance already to dig into it, but yeah, sort of the native caching built into Fetch, I guess, and in Next.js 13. So we can look at that a little bit. Who else do we have here? Okay, we have Jonathan from Germany. Lovely. We have good amount of folks from Germany now. I think Alistair is in Australia, although he might also be in Bali at the moment or wherever. I don't really know. That's the beauty of Supabase. Everyone's working remotely. Although we're lucky, a good amount of folks actually here in Singapore, which is quite nice. And someone is using a mechanical keyboard, I think. Okay, let me guess. I think the gamer chair gave you away. And then Cookify Media. Hello from Sweden. Lovely. Cookies. What kind of cookies are you? Maybe it's digital cookies. The cookies that everyone loves so much. All right, cool. Thanks for tuning in. Actually, this yeah, I'm kind of liking this time zone. So maybe we can see and switch it up a little bit. And you know, US is asleep. They're in the past anyway. For them, it's still Thursday. We're happy houring here on Friday in the future. I think probably Alistair was already at the pub watching this on his phone or something. Well, we'll see. Let us know, Alistair. Yes. So today, very excited to have Alfred and SK from Dashibase. Really amazing. I think I hadn't looked kind of at the website in a while, and then pulled it back up yesterday, and it almost looks like you should change your tagline to the open source Notion nowadays. It kind of
quite popular
like,
nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically going in that direction, which is pretty cool. But yeah, maybe let's kick off with a little story about Dashibase, and then maybe you can give us. Yeah, I think I'd love to hear. I mean, I already know, but kind of for the folks, sort of, you know, how did you come up with the idea of building Dashibase, and you know, especially in Singapore. I also saw, Alfred, you kicked off this kind of SaaS Singapore, and I was very offended that either I did check my emails and then it's on me, or you failed to invite me. In which case, if it's the latter, I'm very offended.
There'll be more coming.
Yes, I know. I'm actually excited for the November one with Ahref, right? So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, maybe you can talk a little bit about Dashibase, maybe Singapore, SaaS, and then maybe product update.
Oh yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah, maybe I could start a little bit, share a little bit about Dashibase's story. I'll leave the Singapore SaaS scene talk to Alfred. Yeah, and then we can both just chip in a little bit about like upcoming stuff for Dashibase. So yeah, we actually started. Dashibase is really young. We started Dashibase back at the end of April this year. So what happened back then, and I think I shared a little bit about this earlier, is so I left Google in January, and then Alfred and I were just working on a whole bunch of different ideas, and we kind of like to build like lots of different MVPs within like a week, and then test them out, roll them out. And we're building a lot of these UIs all on top of Supabase. And then because we were doing this over and over again, writing a lot of boilerplate like UI code, we were like, why not just build like in a front-end app builder so that Supabase users can just plug in their Supabase keys, and then we immediately generate like an app UI for them. So we built like a super simple MVP within like a week, and then that actually we got our first paying users within like 3 hours of our landing page launch. So that was like, whoa, okay, somebody's willing to pay us some money for this kind of like really bad looking MVP like way back then. So we decided to just double down on it. We actually refunded our first few paying users, open it up for free. And then we just like wanted to have a lot more people tell us about like their needs around like this whole app builder thing. And we realized that there was like a huge number of people who really wanted to use this for internal tools. And then they had a lot less like customization requests, which we couldn't really be bothered to build because there's just so many like different ways to customize like a dashboard. Like we had a user asking about like, could we change like the radius of like the table border and things like that. And we were like, okay, maybe we don't want to go into like the customized like front end stuff. So we focused on internal tools, and we realized that lots of developers really didn't like building internal admin panels because it's just so boring. And we were like, why not just make it super easy to build? And one of the UIs we really loved was Notion. So we actually were like, why not let people build their entire admin panels or internal tools using Notion as a UI? So we adopted that. We took about a week to reproduce a very simple MVP of Notion's UI, and that actually coincided with the CDJS conference that Thor helped to host, I think. And then we presented our Notion UI in the CDJS talk. We presented it twice actually, so we had the privilege of being invited by Thor to present again on 2 separate occasions. So yeah, and that went actually viral. Our Notion open source repository, which we call Notion, and yeah, so that's sort of the latest version you see right now on the screen here. That's the Notion UI. And
wait, so is
yeah,
this actually
yeah.
okay, when I'm in this screen, this is
Yes.
like the actual product embedded into
Yeah,
the
it's
website,
like
is that correct?
it's not the actual product. It's like a simulation of the product. It works exactly the same way. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting. But I guess when the viewport is too small, then it changes to a picture.
Yes.
Which makes a lot of sense. But yeah, this is cool. Yeah, I think CityJSConf was pretty fun. It was this Greek guy from London, Iris, who just I guess he likes to kind of get miles on his Amex card, and so he collects sponsor money and then puts on developer conferences he loves, and all in the name of community. But no, I mean he's a good guy doing great things.
Yeah.
And so he just was like, no one in Singapore was kind of doing any events at that time because everyone's just kind of, oh, it's COVID. Singapore was also jumping kind of from like sizes, like 5 people per group, 8 people, back to 5, back to 2, up, and so everyone was kind of like, what can we do? And so I think it took this kind of crazy Greek guy to like come here and like, let's do a conference in Singapore, and everyone was like, yeah, okay. And I think it was cool because Evan, you, the creator of you, Beat, kind of all that, was attending. So he's relocated to Singapore, which I think is really nice for Singapore as well. Would be, people open source. Singapore is like the open source capital now. Getting there would be nice. Anyone welcome.
Yeah.
Come over here. Building cool things, but yeah. So I think you were presenting on kind of the Lotion. It repositories? I guess. Yeah, Lotion. Yeah, which is funny. So it's kind of an open source Notion UI built with Vue 3, and I think Evan was like, "Oh, this is cool," and tweeted, about this, and then I think it ended up like getting more stars. Oh wow, I hadn't started getting more stars than your main repository or something like that. How's that now? Oh man, we need
a lot more stars.
Okay, everyone who's watching right now, just go and maybe like the. I mean, you can like both, right? It's good.
Yeah, we were even thinking at some point, like, should we be pivoting to that fully now because people seem to like the whole Notion UI thing? Just move over there.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this is soon gonna be the open source Notion alternative. This is nice. Yeah. And then okay, where were we? I kind of cut you off. I guess.
No. So like,
and obviously I should be. Sorry, I was like, the screen.
So the latest version that you see is built on top of the Lotion UI, which we have open sourced. And yeah, I think we released we actually have our public beta launch about a month ago. So now so previously we actually had a wait list. We made everyone like jump on a call with Alfred or me. So we'll like chat with them. And then a month ago, we opened it up for anyone to be able to self-serve, connect their own database. We also expanded to support all Postgres databases as well. And we've just been adding like different features since. And we've sort of, I think we see here, expanded our team a little bit. So it's not just like Alfred and I anymore. We have like 2 engineers helping us. Yeah, and both of them are also huge fans of Supabase.
Nice. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Y Combinator? Yeah. So you can read up. What's the short version? Did you apply?
The short version is we didn't get in.
Yes, that's the short. That's the one sentence
The shortest
summary.
version.
Yeah, but that goes
Not
to
yet.
like experience. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes.
But I
the
mean,
next one.
in the end as well, right? Like maybe it's something you have people paying you money, like bootstrapping something is pretty interesting as well. I always like to so my friend Sumit here, this guy is also Supabase user, and he's bootstrapped all his
Nice.
businesses, and it's like very big in kind of the indie hacking community and such. And yeah, I mean, pretty inspiring as a guy in Germany, doing things by the book and like bootstrapping businesses. Pretty cool. Yeah, definitely. If you're interested in sort of the whole indie hacking, my sidecar is for some reason screwing me over. Okay, there we go. Got it back. Yeah, but okay, cool. So what's next? Do you want to talk sort of product a little bit and share your screen, or do you want to talk a little bit more? I probably should mute my Slack.
Does Alfred want to share a little bit on the like a quick overview of like what the product looks like? Alfred,
yeah, maybe one quick story as well. Like going back to the blog, you were showing the image of 4 of us within the team. One kind of fun story we're thinking about before this happy hour, it's when our Lotion repo went viral. So if you scroll further up, I think we had
the one with like the 4 of us.
4 of us.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, so the funny story is, so when Lotion kind of went viral, we started getting contributions from a lot of different people, and I mean that was really nice, right? Because we're doing this for free, and then people started volunteering their time to fix bugs. And so the funny thing is, we're actually, because we're rushing for the CityJS conference, SK actually didn't really polish the repo properly before we kind of launched it, and so it was filled with a lot of bugs. But then so people started just fixing it, and someone just started fixing so many bugs and became the second most active contributor right after SK. And we're just looking at his GitHub profile and find out it was actually just a photo of a bear. And we're like, I don't know how this guy looks like. And so we just sent him a message and said, like, looks like you're in Singapore. Do you want to have coffee? So we met him for coffee and realized he was just a university student. And he just picked up web dev and he just found it really enjoyable. And then he found Lotion on GitHub trending and decided to start contributing to it. And then halfway through, like, do you want to work on Dashibase as well? And then he said, yeah, why not? And so now he's working for us part-time, which I thought was really cool. It's just how the open source community has been amazing. We put our repo out and people have been contributing to it. And then now we got to grow our team because of that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, the Supabase approach. And like, I think we also have a blog post about this, like why we're open source. Something like that.
Right?
Yeah, and this one, should I open source my company? And I mean, hiring is a big component to that, right? Like, we basically, and I mean, it's astonishing. Like, some of them are like high school students, some of them are university students. And I think we have this Isaiah, so he's like a 15-year-old or maybe now 16-year-old, like high school student, and he's now practically on the like the Supabase front end team, right? Like he's just basically started by just fixing typos like across the docs, and then just more and more got accustomed to it. Kind of asked like, can he do an internship? Basically did like this open source internship where we just kind of paid him through Open Collective, which was sort of the easiest way to get someone onboarded right away. And then, now he's pretty much like on the front end team. And I think that's sort of the awesome thing about open source. Yeah, you just get people in, and by the time you hire them, they are basically already spun up. And I think that's pretty
the onboarding is like super
incredible.
Easy. Yeah, and they're familiar with the code base.
So, and wait, is everyone in Singapore or?
No, so David, who's in white, is in Singapore, and then Deb is in India.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? There's just so much talent out there. Like, it's such a big world, and kind of limiting it to sort of geographical locations is a bit crazy. Yeah. No, it seems to be opening up more, so that's exciting. All right.
Yeah, maybe I can give a really quick demo of Dashibase.
Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome. Cool. So this is sort of like an example of a dashboard you can build with Dashibase. And we can try to like recreate it. Right. Okay.
Nice.
Is this better?
Yeah.
All right. So this is sort of like just an example. Maybe this is like a dashboard where people from customer success or business development could come in and find information about the customer or update customers' information. So you can come in here, update it, update directly to their database. And so creating something like that is super straightforward. We have that entire Notion Light UI, so it's really easy for people to create things. So you can just type in there. You could do header that Paul did earlier. Ooh, that's a bug, live demo. And then, if you want, you could type some instructions if you want people to understand how to use this dashboard. And then adding a table is as simple as typing /table. And we'll pull in all the tables you have within your Supabase project. And say we go with customers. And so these are all the columns within the customers table. One cool thing is we allow you to pull in join attributes from any related tables. So as long as you have foreign key to other tables, all the remaining columns will appear in here. So we can easily, we can say hide a few columns that we don't want to show. We can bring in a few columns that we want to say like country name, maybe the price they're paying each month. Let's hide address as well. You can easily move things around. So like, okay, company name to the front. And you can easily rename all this stuff. Oh, you get to hear my mechanical keyboard again. And one cool thing we do as well is we actually automatically generate a single item view for every item within your database. So you don't have to kind of recreate this yourself, generate a form and all that stuff. And again, so this view has all the information from your database. Any related information is here, join information is here as well. And then, you can edit this easily as well. Again, just like a Notion like UI, you can delete stuff. You can move things around.
Can you do like Command Z to like undo, redo kind of those things?
Not yet.
A feature that people have been asking for like the longest time. We just haven't gotten around to doing that yet. Turns out like this whole state history is not as easy to implement as you might think. Yeah.
Yeah. If someone has a good tutorial for us, let us know. We'll let you check it out.
Can you edit data also?
Yes. So so after you created this dashboard, you can actually just use this to edit data, or you have a preview mode so that you don't shift things around. So you can come in here, you could change things like change this to company, and then save it. What did I do? Let's try it again. Okay, let me restart this.
Maybe we're discovering another bug. We need
Yeah.
to fix really fixing all the bugs.
Do the live demo. Ooh, yes, we're gonna fix bugs. Oh, okay. So I did, but there was probably a bug there because the page should have loaded back properly. But yes, so you could update the information. You could add new rows to your database as well. And there's still a bunch of things we're fixing and we're adding as well. So kind of maybe going a bit to the product update side. Recently, we just added a embed block. And so you could embed any iframe you want in here. So image, video, calendar, Loom, and all that. And something we're releasing next week, it's quite exciting. So we essentially enable developers to add in their own code into Dashibase. And so that what we call it is a plugin block. So you can develop a plugin on your own using any framework that you like in your favorite IDE. And then once you have set up the app, you could just plug in into Dashibase via a plugin block. It's not available here yet, but it's very similar to the embed block. So you enter the URL of your app, and then from here, we actually pass some information from Dashibase itself to your app so that you can pull certain information and display it in your Dashibase dashboard. For example, maybe inside this customer page, you have your Stripe customer ID. And so your plugin is actually able to take in the Stripe customer ID to display some Stripe information about this particular customer, like what's their billing email, what's the Stripe subscription plan, so on and so forth. So yeah, we're releasing that next Monday. Quite excited to see what developers will build on top of that.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
And
what do you do you also plan to add like charts or anything like that? So, or like a time view, or is it not something you consider to be in scope?
So charts is another thing that lots of people so like we struggle with this. Like we've had an internal discussion about this a lot, and like I think for now we're not building charts yet because there are a lot of really great solutions out there. Metabase is just like one great one, and I think Supabase had like a tutorial on like integrating Metabase. So because there are like so many like really great players out there, we don't really want to go into that yet. But that being said, lots of people have been asking for it. So I think we're also thinking the tough part is like I think a lot of our users like using Dashibase for like the ease of development or like building a fully fledged dashboard. Then how do we make sure that people can add charts really easily as well? So that is something that we'll need to think hard about, the whole UI and UX. Yeah.
That makes total sense. I think it's a good decision to not do that for a while and focus on the stuff that you're good.
Yeah. And as you can tell, there's still a lot of bugs that we need to fix.
And just wondering, kind of all the metadata, as folks are kind of moving things around, sort of that ordering or like the embed block, sort of. Where do you store that data? Is that something you store in like a Dashibase database instance? Or do you actually store it in the user's database in a different schema? What does it look like there?
It's actually all stored in the Dashibase database instance. So everything is like a single JSON that sort of says the config for the entire dashboard because it's all block based, right? Kind of like how Notion does it. So all of this is stored on our database. But if the user does want to like self-host that kind of thing, we have like the open source stuff as well. So it is hosted on our end, not on like a schema from the user. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. One thing I'll clarify there. Oh, sorry. One thing I'll clarify there is so that the dashboard setup is stored on our end, but then we don't store any of the user's data. So like it's still in their own database. We just read it off from their database.
Yeah, it's just the sort of the configuration metadata. Or is like some of that stored locally as well, potentially like local storage, or is it always upstream?
So one thing that we did recently was we actually like worked on the latency of like the entire app for the past week, and I think one of the things that we did was like start like loading some stuff from saving and loading some stuff from like local storage. So that's been like helped to speed up the whole app a lot. Loading all of the configs and like all the available dashboards that you have. We would save it in local storage, which you of course clear once you log out. But I think the other thing that we're sort of introducing is kind of just this small QOL, quality of life thing, like the last page that you were at when you close the tab. The next time you open like the app, you automatically go to that last page. So continue off where you left off. Small things like that that we're using like local storage to do. Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Oh, there's actually one comment here. Dashibase looks like a great option to manage the products plans for the upcoming Superstarter payments feature. Would love to have a quick call. Yeah, so maybe how can folks, looking to collaborate or what have you, like Jonathan here, how can they reach out to you?
Oh, actually,
you can just tweet us at.
Yeah. I was gonna say that like we're still really poor, so Alfred and I we share like a common email. So both sk@dashibase.com and alfred@dashibase.com both goes to the same email inbox. So yeah, that's one way to reach us. Alternatively, like you can reach out to us on Twitter. I think, do we have our Twitter handle somewhere?
At Dashibase.
Just Dashibase, right? Yeah. Who knows if that has been fired from Twitter? No one knows nowadays, right? Have you seen the news of like Elon coming in, cleaning it? Yeah. Sorry, that was a reference to that. Cool. Yeah, I think with that, anything else? Any kind of shameless plugs? Anything that maybe folks should check out, or any last words? The next Singapore SaaS event that Thor will be invited to?
About that.
Yeah, one quick plug maybe is just, we're keen to just talk to a lot of more developers to understand more about how you interact with your database, how do you build interfaces for the rest of your team. So if anyone is interested, feel free to send us an email at sk@dashibase.com or tweet us. We're always happy to chat. And a quick plug for Singapore SaaS as well. So as Thor alluded to earlier, I think for a long time in Singapore, there was no really kind of SaaS companies that are born out of Singapore or like based in Singapore. Only in the recent year, we're starting to see more and more SaaS companies coming out of Singapore. Supabase is a really good example, and it's like being a great example for other founders to get inspired and start your own company. And because of that, I realized that there wasn't really a community of SaaS founders and operators who can hang out together and exchange notes to figure out how do you do things like fundraising, building your product, talking to customers, marketing, and all that. And so we're starting to put together monthly events. It's actually still pretty small right now. So we're doing this on a month-to-month basis because I'm doing this on top of running Dashibase. So everything is a bit slow right now. But yeah, the goal is to do it once a month. We find different startups in Singapore to host the event at their office. And then they're usually very nice to buy us nice food. We'll have some food, drinks, and then hang out to just talk about startups and building a product. Yeah, so if anyone's in Singapore and interested to join, just let me know. Happy to chat.
Yeah, that's. I think the amazing thing as well is like, and many probably don't realize that Ahref is probably one of the early ones there. Like they've been around for like 12 years or something.
Yeah, they are based in Singapore for about 7 years now, I think. Before that, they were from Ukraine, and then they moved to Singapore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty cool story. Kind of hearing and learning from them, I think that's amazing. Cool. Yeah, Singapore SaaS. Singapore is the place to be. Just know, from here to Bali, it's like 90-minute flight. So just telling you. Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Alfred and SK. Yeah, obviously, if you have any more questions for them, you can find them on Twitter. You can send them an email to their joint email inbox if you want to do that. But yeah, thanks so much. I mean, first of all, we're building on top of Supabase and being advocates for people using Supabase and building awesome things in the open. Yeah, really cool. Sweet. I mean, obviously, if you want, you can stay on and listen to Philip.
Yeah.
But also, of course, we'll we won't be offended if you have to jump off throughout.
Sleep,
At least I won't.
Cool, yeah.
Cool. Then, yeah, maybe Philip, do you want to? I mean, you quickly introduced yourself, but I actually would love to maybe chat a little bit, about your company as well, and maybe give us a quick intro into that, and then we can, I think, shift maybe to Supabase and Supabase Cash Helpers. I mean, it's somewhat related because I think, you're using Supabase at Matteo, and you're, I think, even using the Supabase Cash Helpers kind of there. So yeah, maybe we'll start off with that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I mentioned it in the beginning. We are basically building like a messaging solution for small and medium-sized businesses. So you can imagine like bike stores and these kind of businesses, local businesses. So all of our customers have a few like actual local stores. So we're not doing like e-commerce and stuff, which helps because we don't need to integrate into a lot of solutions because e-commerce is usually quite integration heavy. Yeah, the website is just in German because we are just focusing like German customers. So sorry about that. But yeah, basically what we do is we take like all the messaging solutions that are there, like WhatsApp Business, email, SMS, Instagram, Facebook, Telegram, all of these, and put them, they combine them into a single inbox. So this unified messaging, so they can like collaborate on the messages, like tag the messages, assign the conversations to someone, and then yeah, also of course answer to these messages. This is like the core of the product, and then on top we are now building more and more features towards enabling them to also make, because the unified inbox is just makes them more efficient because they don't have to care about like having so many accounts on their phones, stuff like that. It's also the GDPR thing, so the data privacy thing, especially regarding WhatsApp. But now we're also building stuff like campaigns on top, so they can actually make more money from their customers because of our solution, not only be more efficient but also increase their revenue. So you can imagine like WhatsApp campaigns and stuff like that, which we are now building. And yeah, as Thor already mentioned, we started with Supabase. So actually we did something else last year, which didn't work out really well. So we pivoted this year and decided to start from scratch, also like build the product from scratch. And yeah, basically we then looked around and looked at, for example, Hasura also as a backend as a service, and then we decided to go for Supabase because we have a chat. So one of the core things that we need is like real time. And I think in last November, something like that, Supabase released our support for real time, which was basically the blocking thing for us. And then once that was there, we decided to go for Supabase, which has been like a really, really good decision. So right now we worked with it for like pretty much from the beginning of this year. So I think I created the Supabase project in the first 2 weeks of January, and since then I've been working with it. And yeah, it has been like a lot of fun because what I personally really like is that we write no boilerplate code at all. So everything, a line of code you write is just SQL business logic. And now we have like, I think close to like 80 tables and a few hundred database functions and triggers and stuff like that. And making really extensive use of the idea basically that Supabase has of like putting all your business logic in your database. And this really helped us to be really, really fast because we are quite constrained on resources, of course, as a startup, you know that too. So yeah, basically it's just me and one of my co-founders who's pretty much supporting me half-time. Now we actually also hired a few people, most of them also through Supabase Cash Helpers actually. So really similar story, not that they were contributors, but they were like, just seeing the project and then reach out to me and ask to like what I'm working on and stuff like that. So this is also has been a great thing, like just open sourcing parts of, even if you cannot open source all of your product, then maybe at least try to open source parts of it. So you can, it will benefit a lot. And yeah, so this is what we are doing. And during that time, of course, the first few versions were like quite hacky, and we are using SWR, so stay while revalidate with Supabase in the front end. And what we really, because we have like a lot of tables and stuff, and a lot of important like relations that we have to show and also update in the front end. And then the first version of the front end was basically super hacky, because we hacked like all the cache updates and stuff like that. So if you, for example, do an insert on that table, then you want to, don't know, increase the count here and stuff like that. So you have a lot of stuff going on when you update the cache. And yeah, at some point I was like, it's a relational database, and Postgres is doing a good job on exposing this in a useful way over like a REST API. So it's like there has to be a way to just using the structured backend, basically the structured relations in the front end to do that, to do all these like relation updates and stuff like that automatically. So yeah, so I had a few ideas and had a few rough POCs, and saw that a few of them are working quite okay, and then just took the hackathon as an excuse to actually put this into like a actual package, because yeah, I've had like a few hooks and functions laying around, so I used a week to just put it all together and make it an actual thing. And yeah, it turned out to be quite a success, because like we are not fully using it internally. We are just migrating it. It's something we'll do in the next one. Hopefully, it will not take more than 1 week. But yeah, then we hopefully also fully using the package ourselves. Right now, we're just using it parts of the applications, and yeah, it saves us a lot of code. We just can delete a lot of code, all of these custom cache updates. Of course, not everything is possible. For example, we're using a few like custom RPCs, custom functions where we query stuff, and this is of course, if you don't know, web relation table with an RPC and return like parts of it, the RPC is like RPC/conversation chat, for example, and we cannot see that, okay, a message belongs into this RPC. So this is something that you have to manually implement. But yeah, all of the basic stuff, like if you update like or add something or remove something, the count is updated. If you have a list, then it's added to the list. There's still a few things that are not supported, and a few things that has to be improved, but I think right now it's in a good state, and also can be used like in a productive environment to just have a good like front-end caching solution out of the box. And then of course the custom cases, you always have to implement them yourself. But yeah, it has been a lot of fun, a lot of regular expressions I had to write. I think one day I dreamed of regular expressions after the day, because the amount of the amount of stuff that I had to extract from the URL string was ridiculous. So yeah, but it has been a fun experience, and I know all these like sites on the internet where you can try out regular expressions. So if you need something, let me know.
Which one is your favorite one for regex?
I think it's 101 regex.
101 regex, or probably 101.
Yeah,
regex 101.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a good point that maybe sometimes isn't so clear when you're using Supabase. So with the Supabase database, we give you kind of an auto-generated API. And so we actually just recently sort of reframed this to kind of serverless API to sort of help you understand that this, scales. The thing is, if you're say using something like Prisma or what have you, or Kaisli or kind of one of like the server side SQLize frameworks to talk to your database. These frameworks are talking directly to your database. So you give them your database connection string, and then they will go off and run the query on the database. Now, there is kind of a challenge with that, because what can happen is that, as you ramp up, if you have like a huge increase in traffic, you now have the problem of traffic to the database. And so there's things like PG Bouncer. But, if you're using kind of that directly, so I mean, Prisma has kind of this, I think Prisma data proxy thing, which I think is kind of aimed at solving that problem of like connection pooling. But so that's a great thing with like the Supabase serverless APIs. You actually get scalable APIs that have kind of the PG Bouncer and connection pooling built in. So like as your traffic ramps up, the API actually scales up. And, obviously you can talk to the API from the client side, from the server side. So you have kind of these different approaches. And obviously when you're doing real time, talking directly to kind of an API makes sense, as you have kind of the WebSocket connections there. But I think that's also interesting because, like, if you look at sort of Next.js 13, I think now sort of the idea is that everything is sort of server components, and you're actually fetching kind of all the data, server sides, and in certain instances that makes sense because so you have this, so it's like server components always fetch data on the server. The great thing with that obviously is kind of edge functions, and you can kind of distribute your data fetching sort of around the globe and kind of get improvements there, and you can do caching. So for example, that's one thing I'm working on at the moment, and I might need to find the code example here. So with like Next.js 13, you can actually do caching like this, where it's kind of built into the fetch request. And so like by default, Supabase uses the fetch that's exposed on the window. And then you can just export like a constant to say, okay, basically revalidate the request like at most every 60 seconds. And so this is kind of the new approach within sort of Next.js. And, obviously it makes kind of caching like super easy. I mean, the question is, in terms of like the Supabase cache helpers, because they, I think, are mainly client side, and sort of the stale while revalidate, where actually data is sort of revalidated on the client directly rather than going through the server. So I guess there's a lot of kind of things happening going on. But yeah, maybe Philip, we can look a little bit at the cache helpers and sort of the approach there, and maybe then
Sure.
from kind of what with Next.js 13, and if you see that still living on, or if everything now is a server component.
So basically like right now, of course, it's just the cache helpers is just client side, and but if you scroll down a bit, then you can see that I try to put every single thing that is possible to, that's not related to like SWR or any other web query, whatever you want to have also in Vue, into like separate packages. So that like adding support for other frameworks is quite straightforward, I would say. I haven't been doing that yet, but I think maybe web query has been requested now just yesterday, actually. So maybe I will look more into that. So yeah, how it works basically, it's doing two things. The first thing is if you go into Postgres SWR, for example, then it just integrates like in a high level. It's like just a quite good integration between say while validate and Supabase, for example. You can, for example, see you have like use query and just pass in actually the Postgres filter builder, which is like created from this client from select equals statement here, and then just it will just work out of the box like that, and it will first thing is it will create like the query key, the cache key from the query. So this will end up with like a really like just a string basically, because say while validate requires a string, for a query it's like an array, so it might be a bit different there, but in the end what it does is basically it creates like it takes the instance of the filter builder and then extracts all the relevant properties that are like useful for a query, and then turns it into like the query key. And so this is the first part of it, and the second part of it is, and this was also one where I need a lot of regular expressions, is like the filter part, the mutation part. So if you scroll down a bit, you have like this in this example, you have the use insert mutation. There you just pass like the client with the defining the table, and then you can call the insert mutation that is returned here to in this case insert like contact. I didn't put it in an example there, sorry, but they're basically just a function that you can call like in the callback. And then what it does is it's pretty much just inserting it into every cache key where it makes sense. So for example, if you have like a use query, in this case, it's a contact with like recurring multiple, so it's like an array, and it will insert the contact into the so after you call insert here, it will take the contact and it will be in the data object that is returned from the use query immediately. So it updates like immediately, and you don't have to wait for SWR to like revalidate the query here, the contact query, because it does that automatically for you and also directly insert it. So the user has like a really clicked here on save, and in at the same time it also like updated in the screen, and now I see the contact in the list. So it's like a really good user experience there, because user doesn't have to wait for any update. It just happens automatically. So how that works is pretty much, if you maybe go back to the Postgres filter package, because this is pretty much this is the hard part. This was the hard part of this package, of this Postgres filter there. So how this works is pretty much, if you see there, first of all you have the Postgres parser. This is used for the query key. So if you create a new Postgres parser and then scroll down, you just pass the client there, and then if you scroll down, you can see that it extracts all the properties. So first of all, like simple stuff like the count is had. The query key is just a sorted string basically of all the properties, and it extracts also the path. So you can see that the path and also the aliases from the query, and also then the filters down a bit more down there. You can see all the filters that are like now just in a JSON basically, so not in a string anymore, just in a JSON. And all this information is then used to expose these functions there. And it's pretty simple basically on the high level, because you just give it a query and then you say, okay, apply this to this object, and then it returns true or false, pretty much trying to do what Postgres does on the server side, but on the client side. And how it works in the background is, if you do an insert, it will just scan all the cache keys, looking for all the cache keys that are related to the current table, and then apply the filter on this current object. Like every cache key basically exposes like a filter, and then you can just pass the currently inserted contact in the example into the filter, and then if it returns true, you know, okay, this is a cache key where I need to insert this, and then you can insert it, and then it's automatically populated. So this is the part where I used a lot of regular expressions. I've had the most fun. And then pretty much I just built the rest around it. So all the mutations, also the subscriptions, are just like how you would normally like set up a subscription, but then just pass it to the mutations and for insert and update and stuff like that. There's still a few things open. For example, on the insert, the page size. So if you're doing like a pagination, the page size is not this package. Just like put in the first page and the first as the first entry, and also the ordering is not respected yet. These are like things that I will still need to work on. But yeah, other than that, I think from a feature perspective, it's quite complete, as these 4 stay by revalidate. So yeah, soon I hope to support more frameworks and stuff like that. Also added storage there, which was way easier than Postgres. So you can just a few simple hooks to get the file URLs, list files with URLs and stuff like that. Upload easily and stuff like so. You just don't have to write all that code all over again. So pretty much what Dashibase is doing on the UI side, I'm trying to do on the in the code. So it just saves us a lot of front end coding because we don't have to do like all this fetching all over again. And it has been a lot of fun. As I said, we also have had a few benefits from this like late night project that I'm doing for our company, because we got a bit of visibility, and also the high school student has just joined us. He's now rebuilding our React Native app on his own, which is really impressive. I'm like every day I think like you. why like how are you so good in that age? So yeah, this is really awesome, and has been a really fun experience for me personally, but also we have had a lot of great benefits for the company. Like I said, hiring and also like just using it just helped us a lot. So yeah, maybe we can look at the next fetching. Because I just came back from vacation and just skimmed through it, but from what I see here is that pretty much what I do is they wrap the web fetch, which I've seen some pretty funny comments on Twitter about. So not everyone is happy about that, but so pretty much I think right now, like as I said, how Cache-Appers works is defining keys that are actually useful and then can be like queried for. When you're doing mutation, you look for a key that is like for entry in the cache that is related to the table that you are currently updating. So what I really hope is that they will provide a way to define custom keys, because right now I think they will just use the URL, the fetch URL.
Yeah.
I could also work with that in some ways, but I think it would be way easier if they could just provide a way similar to like SWR or like query or any other framework where you always can like define your own cache key. And I think once that is there, and the mutation, if you click on mutating, I think they just have like a really basic refresh now, which is not really useful, because I have to access, like for Cache-Appers, I have to have access to like the actual keys and look into the keys and the data of the keys. And so this is not ready yet for Cache-Appers, but I still think that especially since I always try to separate the logic into like non-React related packages, it should be possible to use them also here, and they should benefit people. I don't know if the benefit is that large, especially if it's now like fast to just refresh, because you don't have to update the cache like locally on your own. You can just like revalidate really fast and refetch really fast. I don't know how large the benefit will be there, but I think I will just wait for them to actually propose like a mutate RFC and provide it, and then I will start looking more into it and also to try to find a way to provide cache pass for this one here. But nevertheless, so
what's interesting though is, so they have this example here, which, you know, use client. So it's a client component that's run on the client side, and then immediately underneath they say fetch is currently not supported in client components.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what is this example? I'm a little confused. Like, you're giving me an example to do fetch on the, so maybe it's just kind of looking into the future, like how it will work. So the thing is, it does work. I tested it out, but like it basically just constantly refetches and re-renders. Like, so I guess that's something they are still working on. But yeah, so for now they're actually saying, you know, recommend using libraries such as SWR, and so, you know, the cache help us very much with Next.js 13. Should be working fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just maybe at some point we will need to provide like a server-side version of cache helpers. That should work. Like I think there was an Egghead course like about Cloudflare workers. If you think John did that, even for the stuff that he was doing, you could use cache helpers because it's not really related to React. Most of the core logic is not related to React, so you could just use a map, for example, JavaScript map as your cache, and then like do a small wraparound map using cache helpers to create a cache for all of your routes automatically.
You mean in like KV storage in Cloudflare workers?
Yeah. So something that you could also like provide like a Postgres KV, Cloudflare KV package based on the other packages in the repository. So yeah, I think there will be a use case for cache helpers in Next 13, but I really need to have them publish the mutation RFC to be able to do it.
Yeah. Oh, they are working on a new RFC. Okay, so that's actually not published yet. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, interesting to get kind of a look into the future there, but I think for now, it's funny because anytime, you know, Vercel announces kind of a new Next.js version, everyone's like, oh, we need an example of Supabase Next.js 13. Okay, you should be using this in production, but
yeah. And then you publish the example, wait 2 weeks, and then you have like 10 more issues and stuff that you that you don't want to work on yet.
Yeah, but the funny thing though is it does do really well in terms of like marketing, you know, if you put it like that. So I'm just working on this example now and probably just pull this out into like a pretty code snippet tweet and, you know, tweet that next week and see. Oh yeah, Next.js 13 caching. So yeah, no. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm joking, and like the stuff they're working on is pretty incredible. Like obviously edge functions and kind of, you know, splitting kind of your data fetching and caching into basically edge functions without you actually needing to think about edge functions is pretty incredible. But yeah, I think for now, you know what is coming, but, you know, maybe don't just rewrite your whole next application just yeah. I think we did have some questions. There we are. Jonathan again. He's coming in with the tough questions now. Have you ever had problems with scalability, performance? Because one of the main concerns I hear from customers is Supabase is only good for MVPs, but not for enterprise apps. Yeah, I think there's a couple stories you can share probably. And
so yeah, basically, so pretty much what we are betting on right now is that Supabase scales faster than we do, and right now they're doing a good job at it. So they're just a few months ahead of us always, and this is really, really good. And yeah, we have had some scalability issues, but in the end, it's just Postgres. So every scalability issue or performance issue that we have had wasn't nice for me personally, because I had a pretty tough days, a few tough days there. But it was still just Postgres. So mostly regarding like row level security. One thing that you really have to look at is like making sure that your schema. So basically, you're developing like schema first. So you really have to look into like what schema am I using, and have to like check that all your like row level security policies are really performant. And there are some like things that are not like usual for the normal developer. In terms like how row level security works and how the query planner resolves your planner your query there. So yeah, there are a few things I think Tor already told me that they're also working on some tools even to provide you with a way to make it performant. And regarding your question about like really big enterprise apps, of course, if you like on Uber scale, you have different problems. But I think for most use cases, even the larger ones, you can really get a lot of performance out of your Postgres instance. And if you scale it up to like, I think the largest plan is like, I don't know how much CPU and memory you provide there, but there's a lot of computing power to use. One thing that maybe is also like a concern for the customers that you are working with, Jonathan, is the development team size. I think for us, I'm just on the backend Supabase side, I'm the only one that's working with it, so I have no issues with it. But I can imagine if you're like a team of like 10, 20 people, then it might be an issue for your team to work together, because all of the migrations you have to like look into. Like not like getting the migration into the like merging it into the correct order and stuff like that. Like I've written for us like a few simple linters, for example, to just check, okay, is the timestamp the latest one before you merge a PR and stuff like that. So you have to check on that. And I think with a larger team that might be more of an issue. But I think like Supabase will work on like branching, stuff like that, or is working actually on branching, and this should solve like this developer team size problem that may be currently there. Yeah, I hope they will, as I said, we're just hoping they will scale faster than we do. And then once we at this point where we might have an issue with that, I hope that they will have like branching ready and we can just use it. Yeah, as I said, like Postgres is like a really remarkable piece of software, and you can squeeze out a lot of performance if you know what you're doing, and also lose a lot of performance if you not know what you're doing. So just to be honest. But you can make it work for you also for like larger use cases and a lot of like having a lot of requests and stuff like that. It works pretty well. But yeah, you should buy a Postgres book at some point.
Yes, yeah, Postgres. That's the thing, right? It is very powerful, and I mean, one of our missions is basically kind of making the power of Postgres accessible. And you know, obviously, there's a lot of work to be done there, and you know, it is Postgres is a very interesting ecosystem. I think actually, if you read our latest blog post, we were kind of talking about sort of how, you know, Postgres is being developed, and you know, like there's no GitHub for Postgres. You know, like it basically uses Git of like pre. I just realized I'm not sharing my screen. 1 second, let me. Yeah, so this is the blog post here, and you know, it's like more than 3 decades old now, and like it's basically is a mailing list, and then it's just it is, yeah. So it is a bit different from kind of the open source development that you're maybe used to, but yeah. So I think that's sort of part of our missions, where we're basically trying to sort of make Postgres more accessible to people, and obviously these blog posts as well are part of that. But yeah, like building tooling, the CLI kind of migrations tooling, and that, and we're working on that. But yeah, if if you're kind of building something that needs to scale quickly, and you sort of misstep, you kind of don't have the right indices and things like that, you can run into performance issues there.
Maybe one thing which is really nice is that I think the latest Postgres version like has this explain endpoint, and now once that is on our project, which I will also be looking into, because the Postgres client also has this explain endpoint now. I think I'm now, because I'm now scared for life because of the performance issues we had. I will now be working on like automatically using the explain query, explain endpoint on all queries we are doing in the front end, or all like row-level security related queries, and then just analyzing them like automatically as part of like an integration test to check that there's no big like sequential scan and stuff like that, to make sure that every PR we are doing in the backend doesn't influence the performance like negatively on the front end. I think this is at some point quite useful, if especially if Supabase works on a few like tools to help you understand the query planner better, but also like help you find like slow queries. I mean, there are some ways right now, but for example, for us, the CPU just went like uphill like really fast, so every query was slow. And just querying for slow queries was not really helpful, because at some point every query was slow. So yeah, I think there's, as to already put it, there's a lot of things that you can, a lot of room for improvement, also making it more accessible to everyone. But yeah, I think Supabase is, as far as I know, doing a good job, like at least for me, in like providing all this tooling and yeah, really helping you to understand what is going on, and also being really helpful in the support. I think this is also was a large part for us. We are getting like really fast responses from experts, and yeah, this helps us in scaling.
Yeah, I think that's a thing. Like sometimes you have this where we see this especially with kind of Web3 projects, where you kind of built this little website, and then like within minutes you're basically ramping up like 100,000s of people wanting this NFT. And like obviously if you're building kind of a project like that, do reach out before you launch, kind of talk to support, sort of talk let us know kind of what traffic you're expecting, and we can sort of help kind of advise on that side. Yeah, so we've seen that sometimes where it's like, I think in some cases we're actually lucky that Vercel was running into issues before, and they were kind of using Prisma on that end, and so basically Vercel was actually throttling them, and like the database was fine in the end, because Vercel was putting in the DDoS break. But yeah, so that's obviously if you have projects like that, and you can kind of anticipate sort of the volume, then we can give you some recommendations there as well. So yeah, you could always reach out, and we can figure that out. Cool. I think yeah, Philip, anything else? Sort of any shameless plugs? I mean, obviously, if any German folks are watching, go try out Hello Matteo if you have a business, or if you know businesses that could benefit from that. Obviously, like being here in Asia is like you can pretty much reach any business through like WhatsApp or Telegram or what have you, and it's just super convenient. I mean, like I think the only thing you can't reach is your landlord or your landlady, because for some reason in Singapore they've made up real estate agents made up this rule that you can't directly talk to your landlord, and anything that would be so much easier to just directly talk to them, you basically talk to your agent, and the agent's like, yeah, let me talk to the landlord. And you wait 2 days, then you check with the agent again. Yeah. So that's even though everyone's in the same time zone most of the time. So I wonder if we if we can disrupt that, maybe bring Matteo to Singapore and fix that. But yeah, any other shameless plugs? Anything? I mean, I'll put in your Twitter. But is that kind of a good way for folks to maybe reach out to you if they?
Yeah, sure. Would be happy. Also, like always, happy to collaborate if someone wants to add support for cash appers for like. I think you're using Vue, Dashibase, it's based on Vue. So if you're interested, I would be more than happy to collaborate. I've put a lot of effort in trying to put everything non-React related into separate packages. So it should be pretty straightforward to like also implement it for a Vue. Like, don't know if there's an SWR for Vue, but there's there will be somewhere. And yeah, so always happy to collaborate, and just would love your feedback on the packages. And if you're in Germany, you can always like reach out to me regarding Matteo. I think most of the people watching here will probably be in the tech space, so not our customer group, but still, if you want to hear about like how we use Supabase or like any problems we might have had in the past and things we're looking for in the future, then just reach out to me. Happy to talk.
Awesome. And this was great. Thanks so much for joining us for this Hacktoberfest happy hour, all about open source. Yeah, I'm really excited what everyone is building, and obviously if you're building something with Supabase or even not, let me know. I'm Thor WebDev on Twitter. Can also always reach out to me. And yeah, if you want to collaborate on some live stream or some partnership content or something, just reach out and we can make it happen. Yeah, and I think with that, we'll call it a Friday. Happy Friday, everyone, and we'll see kind of what we do next. I mean, Hacktoberfest is over. We're probably soon enough having another launch week, so that's going to be exciting. And then yeah, we'll see what happens after. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and see you soon. And thanks for joining me on the stream. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye. Night.
Bye.
Bye.